Welcome to the Deep Dive, the show where we really try to slice through the noise and, pull out the profound insights shaping how we see the world.
Exactly.
Today, we're diving headfirst into a book that's, well, it's truly captivated millions. It sparked endless conversations. Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to
It
chaos.
really has made quite a splash.
Absolutely. Our mission today is basically an intellectual adventure. We want to peel back the layers of this really fascinating work. We're aiming to extract the core insights, starting with its compelling overture and then plunging right into rule number one. And you might be surprised, actually, how this seemingly simple advice connects to some really deep stuff. Ancient wisdom, cutting-edge neuroscience, the very fabric of human behavior. It's about understanding those deep, often invisible currents that shape our everyday lives. So, yeah, get ready to explore what it really means to navigate this complex existence.
It is remarkable, isn't it? How a book covering such profound topics, I mean, you've got psychology, mythology, evolutionary biology, philosophy, all synthesized how it found its initial spark in such an everyday place.
Right, not some academic journal.
Exactly. This isn't just a, collection of self-help tips. Peterson's offering a grand framework, really, for finding meaning in a world that often feels overwhelmingly chaotic. And the most unexpected entry point, you mentioned it literally began as a popular post on a public Q&A website.
Quora, yeah.
Right, Quora. So it wasn't born in some ivory tower. It came from people genuinely asking, what are the most valuable things everyone should know? That public hunger for fundamental wisdom, it's really telling.
That's such a powerful point. And the short history of this book, it's quite a story in itself. Back in 2012, before he became this global figure,
Right before the huge fame.
Dr. Peterson was contributing to Quora. For anyone not familiar, it's basically a platform where people ask questions and others, experts, enthusiasts, whoever, offer answers, and the community upvotes the best ones. Peterson himself openly admits he'd often browse Quora during breaks from his more demanding academic writing. He'd thoughtfully respond to questions like, what makes life more meaningful? Stuff like that.
Using it as a sort of intellectual palate cleanser, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. But there was this one particular question that just struck a chord, not just with him, but clearly with countless others. What are the most valuable things everyone should know? His response was this surprisingly eclectic list of rules. Some were pretty serious, like be grateful in spite of your suffering. Others had that characteristic Peterson touch of dry wit, like do not hide things in the fog.
Right, a mix of profound and slightly quirky.
Exactly. And the public reaction, it was immediate, overwhelmingly positive. Comments just flooded in. People saying things like, I'm definitely printing this list out, or even, you win Quora, we can just close the site now.
A lot of praise.
Seriously. Students at the University of Toronto, where he taught, kept telling him how much these simple rules resonated. And get this. By May 2017, that single answer had just exploded. Over 120,000 views, 2,300 upvotes,
Wow.
which put it in the 99.9th percentile of all answers on the entire site. So this immediate viral reaction, it wasn't just about a catchy list. It really suggested this widespread, almost desperate societal hunger for structure, for guidance, for meaning, in a world that felt increasingly adrift for many.
What's truly insightful about that short history, as you call it, is how quickly it connects to the much longer history of Peterson's deep intellectual journey.
Yeah.
This isn't just a book that popped out of nowhere based on a Quora post.
No, definitely not.
It's deeply rooted in decades of his work, his philosophical exploration. Actually, just a few months before that viral post, he was already articulating a central theme on a CBC radio show. He was critiquing the whole idea that happiness should be life's primary goal.
Okay. That's a core theme.
A very core theme. He referenced Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the chronicler of the Soviet gulags. Solzhenitsyn famously called the belief that human beings are created for happiness a pitiful ideology.
Harsh, but understandable given his experience.
Absolutely. Undone by the sheer reality of suffering. Solzhenitsyn's lived experience, facing those unimaginable horrors, led him to argue that life's inevitable suffering just makes a mockery of this relentless, often superficial pursuit of happiness.
So what's the alternative then, according to Peterson?
Well, Peterson's alternative, which he'd explored for years in his very dense academic work, Maps of Meaning,
Right, the big one.
proposes that the real objective is pursuing deeper meaning, specifically by developing character in the face of suffering. He sees this not as some grim resignation, but as a kind of heroic undertaking. And this theme, he argues, is deeply embedded everywhere: ancient stories, myths, religious traditions across cultures. For Peterson, these aren't just quaint tales or literal history.
No, they're like blueprints.
Exactly. Profound moral guides, archetypal instructions for how a human being should act. This whole perspective fundamentally reframes how we see the world. It presents it not just as a place of objects, but as a dynamic stage, a drama, where we're all active participants.
And right at the heart of that drama, especially seen through the lens of maps of meaning, are these two foundational, eternally conflicting concepts: order and chaos.
The big two.
Yeah, we really need to unpack these because they're so central, not just to this book, but really to his whole philosophy. So, order. For him, this represents everything familiar, predictable. It's the stable world, right? Well understood social norms, the predictability that lets people cooperate without constantly fearing the unexpected. Think established social structures, explored territory, comfortable routines. It makes sense.
The known world.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And symbolically, he presents order as masculine. It embodies that protective, structuring force, the wise king archetype. But he also acknowledges its dark side, the potential for stifling control, oppression, the tyrant archetype. It's the framework keeping society from just dissolving.
Right. Structure can become rigidity.
Precisely. Then you have chaos. That's the flip side. The unpredictable, the unknown, the realm where anything can happen. It emerges in ways both trivial and, well, terrifying. It could be as minor as a joke falling flat, shattering social ease for a moment.
We've all been there.
Oh, yeah. Or it can be catastrophic. Sudden job loss, gut-wrenching betrayal by someone you trust, a natural disaster. It's the unknown breaking in. And as the sort of antithesis to the symbolically masculine order, chaos is presented imaginatively as feminine. It's this force of raw potential, simultaneously creation and destruction.
Nature itself.
Exactly, the source from which new things burst forth, but also the destination of the dead, like nature bringing both birth and demise. It's the wild, untamed frontier beyond our control.
This leads us right to a crucial question. What's the relationship between this order and chaos? And where, in the middle of this cosmic struggle, do we actually find meaning?
Right, because you can't just live in one or the other, presumably.
Precisely. Peterson often uses the ancient Taoist yin-yang symbol to illustrate this dynamic really vividly. You know the one, that familiar circle, two swirling serpents, black and white, head to tail, eternally intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
But notice the crucial detail. Each serpent has a small dot of the opposite color inside it.
Ah, I never focused on that part.
It's key. The white serpent is order, the black is chaos, that dot of the opposite color. It signifies the profound possibility of transformation. Just when things seem perfectly secure, predictable, the unknown can emerge powerfully from within the familiar.
Okay.
And conversely, when everything seems lost in catastrophe, confusion, new order, new meaning can miraculously arise from the chaos.
So meaning isn't in either pure order or pure chaos.
Exactly. For the Taoists and for Peterson, meaning isn't found by retreating into one or the other. It's found by bravely existing on the border, that dynamic interface between these two entwined forces. Walking that border, that ever-shifting edge, is staying on what they call the divine way, the path of life.
And this is better than happiness.
That's his assertion. It's much better than happiness. Why? Because happiness is often fleeting, dependent on external things, meaning found in this ongoing, active engagement with reality, both its order and its chaos, is deeper, more resilient, more enduring. It provides an anchor even when you're suffering.
It's fascinating how these big, almost mythological ideas show up so concretely in our lives, like through shared belief systems.
Absolutely fundamental.
These systems are incredibly powerful because they make people mutually predictable, right?
Yeah.
When a society or a community or even just two people in a relationship operate with a common understanding, shared rules, shared expectations, we know what to expect from each other.
It reduces the cognitive load, you could say.
Totally. And this predictability isn't trivial. It's the bedrock of cooperation. It lets us build complex societies, even compete peacefully without constant fear. These shared beliefs, they simplify the world. They act as a buffer against that chaotic mix of intolerable emotions that uncertainty inevitably produces, as he puts it. Without them, every single interaction would be stepping into the unknown.
Yeah, terrifying.
To really get the power of these systems, think about that vivid, gut-wrenching example Peterson uses: betrayal in a trusted relationship.
Oh yeah, that hits home.
Right. When that sacred social contract, that unspoken agreement of loyalty, respect, honesty is just violated, the carefully built peace shatters. And the aftermath isn't just sadness, it's a flood of terrible primal emotions: disgust, contempt, Guilt, anxiety, rage, dread, shame.
The chaos floods in.
Exactly. These are the powerful disorienting forces of chaos unleashed. Shared belief systems, with their agreed-upon conduct and expectations, are precisely what normally regulate and control these raw, powerful emotions. They keep them from overwhelming us.
Which explains why people defend them so fiercely.
Absolutely. It's no wonder people fight tooth and nail to protect these systems. They literally save them from being possessed by these emotions of chaos and terror. They offer a semblance of order, of sanity.
And a really compelling aspect of these shared cultural systems is that they aren't just about predictability. They are fundamentally, at their core, systems of value.
Meaning they tell us what's important.
Precisely. They provide a hierarchy: what's good, what's bad, what's worth striving for. Think about it. Without a goal, without something you value, you can't even begin to perceive what's relevant in the world around you, let alone decide how to act.
You'd be overwhelmed by infinite possibilities.
Exactly. And Peterson posits that, neurologically speaking, we experience much of our positive emotion when we see ourselves progressing towards valued goals. The very idea of progress implies there's something worthwhile to move towards.
Okay, that makes sense. Progress feels good.
Right. But here's the kicker, and it's quite sobering. The meaning of life, if you don't have a positive anchoring system of value, well, it isn't simply neutral. It's not just emptiness.
Why not?
Because we are vulnerable, finite, mortal beings. Pain and anxiety aren't just incidental glitches. They are an integral, unavoidable part of human existence. Peterson uses the term being with a capital B, drawing on philosophers like Heidegger to capture the totality of our experience, our sheer existence, subjective and objective.
So suffering is baked in.
It's intrinsic to being. He argues we must have something profoundly meaningful to set against this intrinsic suffering. Without the meaning woven into a deep system of value, the sheer horror of existence rapidly becomes paramount. Nihilism, with its crushing hopelessness, just beckons like an open abyss.
Wow.
And the modern Western predicament, he suggests, is that we've tried hard to withdraw from tradition, from religion-centered cultures, often for good reasons, like decreasing conflict, promoting individual freedom. But in doing so, we're increasingly falling prey to the desperation of meaninglessness. And that, he asserts, is no improvement at all. It's a trade-off with the potentially devastating psychological costs.
So if we pull all these threads together, this tension between meaninglessness and conflict, what does this actually mean for us, for the individual? How do we navigate this?
Well, Peterson himself really grappled with this. How do you avoid the catastrophic loss of meaning from ditching tradition, but also avoid the inevitable, often violent conflict when different group beliefs clash? Especially now with modern destructive technologies.
Yeah, the stakes are higher than ever.
Absolutely. His personal agony over this crystallized in this powerful, almost archetypal dream he had. He dreamt he was suspended in midair, clinging precariously to a chandelier in a massive ancient cathedral.
Wow, vivid.
Incredibly. He knew instinctively he was right under the dome, the symbolic center, which to him represented the cross, the point of greatest suffering, death, and also potential transformation. There was no escape. He was utterly alone in this profound, terrifying position.
Okay. What did that mean to him?
It led him to a profound realization, one he saw echoed in all the great myths and stories. The center is occupied by the individual.
Not the group, not the ideology.
Exactly. The answer to escaping this terrible dilemma, conflict versus dissolution, isn't found in external ideologies or group identity. It's found through the elevation and development of the individual and through the willingness of everyone to shoulder the burden of being and to take the heroic path.
So it's about individual responsibility.
Massively. But it's not a call to selfish indulgence or anything like that. It's a demanding call. It's for each adopt as much responsibility as possible for individual life, for society, and for the world itself. It means bravely tell the truth and repair what is in disrepair and break down and recreate what is old and outdated.
That sounds hard.
It is. But this, he argues, is the only truly effective way to reduce suffering, not just for ourselves, but for everyone. It's a call to individual courage, individual action, facing reality head-on. And this profound conclusion brings us right back full circle to the book's title, 12 Rules for Life, an Antidote to Chaos.
Right. It's not just catchy.
Not at all.
Mhm.
It signifies the absolute necessity of establishing and sticking to ordering principles, rules, standards, values, to navigate that delicate, ever-shifting line between the twin dangers of order and chaos.
Yeah.
Peterson describes this as pack animals, beasts of burden. We must bear a load, take on responsibility to justify our existence. We need routine. We need tradition. These are manifestations of order. They provide stability.
Not too much order.
Exactly the point. Order can become excessive, rigid. It can lead to totalitarian certainty. History, especially the horrific 20th century, shows us that's a pathway to hell. Think of the gulags, the concentration camps born from an insistence on absolute imposed order.
And pure chaos isn't the answer either.
No, raw, unchecked chaos can utterly swamp and dissolve us. So these rules, they're designed as a guide, a map for existing precisely on that dividing line, where we're stable enough to function, yet exploring enough to grow, transforming enough to adapt, cooperating enough to find the meaning that justifies life and its inevitable, unavoidable suffering.
Okay, wow, that's some heavy but necessary philosophical groundwork. So with all that established, let's dive right into rule number 1. Stand up straight with your shoulders back.
The first rule seems simple.
It really does. On the surface, it sounds like something, your primary school teacher or maybe your grandma might tell you. Simple, almost mundane advice. But let's really unpack this because its underlying message connects to something incredibly ancient, surprisingly humble, and utterly fascinating. Lobsters.
Ah, yes, the lobsters. People always talk about the lobsters.
They do, and I know what you might be thinking. Lobsters? Really? How on earth do these, bottom-dwelling crustaceans have anything useful to teach us about standing tall?
Hmm.
Well, yes, really.
There's a reason, believe it or not.
There is, and the reason they're so relevant lies in their nervous system. It's relatively simple compared to ours, with neurons that are large and easily observable. This simplicity has basically allowed scientists to map their neural circuitry with remarkable accuracy, and this provides invaluable insights into the brains and behaviors of much more complex animals, including, astonishingly, us.
It's a model system in scientific terms.
Exactly. It's a connection that, once you understand it, is both, as Peterson says, comically obvious and incredibly deep. It reveals these shared biological blueprints stretching back hundreds of millions of years. It's mind-blowing, really.
Indeed. Lobsters offer this fantastic, almost primordial window into fundamental biological drives that absolutely resonate, even with us humans. They live down there on the ocean floor, and like most creatures, they need a safe, secure home base. Territory. Essential for hunting, scavenging, sheltering from predators. The problem, of course, is that the best spots, the prime locations, are scarce.
Competition.
Inevitable conflict,
Yeah.
direct or indirect. And this territorial imperative, it isn't some weird lobster quirk. It's a drive you see echoed right across the animal kingdom.
Like birds.
Think about songbirds, exactly. When spring arrives, they migrate north. Their songs, which sound so beautiful and peaceful to us,
Right, lovely bird song.
are actually fierce, sophisticated declarations of sovereignty. They're shouting, "This is my turf, stay out!"
Huh. Never thought of it that way.
There are great anecdotes highlighting this. Consider the wren, tiny little bird, but feisty. There's a story about wren who, after securing its own prime birdhouse, then flew over to a neighbor's empty birdhouse, in this case, an old rubber boot someone had hung up, and proceeded to pack it so full of sticks that no other bird could possibly squeeze in.
Wow. Ruthless.
Utterly ruthless territorial defense. So yeah, they're cute, but merciless when it comes to turf. My point is, this deep primal need for a safe, productive territory and the fierce competition to get it, it's fundamental, ancient, applies across this huge range of species, from tiny birds to, well, us.
And this universal nature of dominance hierarchies, it extends even to the barnyard, right? With chickens?
Absolutely. The pioneering Norwegian zoologist Thorleif Schjelderup Ebbe, way back in 1921, he observed the clear pecking order in common chickens.
It's not just a phrase then, not at all. It's a brutal reality. The birds with priority access to food, the best roosting spots, mates, they're the celebrity chickens at the top. Below them, the second stringers, then the poor, bedraggled, often harassed wretches at the bottom.
A clear hierarchy.
Very clear. And this isn't just about who eats first. It has direct life and death implications for their survival and well-being. For chickens, for songbirds, being low status means severely restricted access to vital resources, food, mates, shelter. Low-status individuals experience way more stress, a constant state of vigilance, anxiety.
Which wears them down.
Exactly. It compromises their immune systems, makes them more susceptible to disease, and ultimately leads to earlier death. This stark biological reality connects directly to human societies. It's sobering. As Peterson vividly puts it, the poor and stressed always die first and in greater numbers. They're also tragically more prone to non-infectious diseases, cancer, diabetes, heart disease.
Another stress load.
There's that ancient truth in the old saying, when the aristocracy catches a cold, the working class dies of pneumonia. Status isn't just social fluff. It's a deeply biological determinant of well-being. Influences everything from health to lifespan.
If we expand on that, connected to the bigger evolutionary picture, this constant conflict over territory and status raises a really crucial question. How do animals establish dominance and sort out disputes without constantly engaging in costly, mutually destructive physical fights?
Right, constant war isn't efficient.
Not at all. Evolution has ingeniously devised all sorts of mechanisms to avoid it. For instance, a defeated wolf, rather than fighting to the death, will often roll over, expose its vulnerable throat.
And the winner usually doesn't bite.
It's astonishingly no. An act of restraint. Bearded dragons use specific leg waves to signal peaceful intentions. Dolphins use specialized sound pulses to reduce conflict in their social groups. It's all ritualized combat and signaling.
Fascinating. And lobsters have this too.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Lobsters are no exception to this sophisticated conflict resolution system. Researchers have meticulously identified 4 distinct levels of conflict among them, escalating in intensity.
Okay, what are they?
Level 1 is display and chemical exchange. 2 lobsters meet, potential dispute. They don't just attack. They do this ritualized boxing-like dance, waving their open claws.
So a bit of posturing.
Exactly. And crucially, they spray liquid from under their eyes. It's like a chemical calling card. Contains vital inputs, size, sex, health, even current mood. Often that's enough. One lobster assesses the odds and backs down.
Smart. Avoids a fight.
Level 2 is advance and retreat. If the display isn't conclusive, maybe they're similar in size or strength, it gets more intense. One advances, the other retreats, maybe roles reverse. It's a psychological game of chicken. The more nervous one blinks, first flicks its tail, signaling submission, and gets out of there.
Okay, still no real physical contact necessarily.
Right. Level 3 is grappling.
Hmm.
Now, if neither backs down, they escalate to genuine physical combat. They go at each other viciously, claws extended, trying to flip the opponent onto its back.
Ah, the flip is key.
Key. A flipped lobster almost always gives up, recognizes the opponent's superior strength. This avoids further, potentially fatal injury.
And level 4?
Level 4 is extreme risk. This is the most dangerous, rarest level. Reserved for truly desperate or evenly matched opponents. They grab legs, antennae, eye stalks, actively try to rip off body parts. Yeah. This level almost always produces a clear winner and loser. And the loser, if they survive, is often severely damaged, unlikely to thrive, especially if they stay in the victor's territory. It's really a testament to evolutionary efficiency that most conflicts get resolved at the lower, less costly levels.
Okay, here's where it gets truly mind-boggling for me. The neurochemistry part. The consequences of losing a battle for a lobster are just astonishingly dramatic.
It's pretty wild.
Its brain literally basically dissolves and then regrows a completely new subordinate's brain, a neural structure specifically adapted to its new lowly position in the hierarchy.
A total reboot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The original dominant brain, it just isn't sophisticated enough to handle that drastic identity-shattering shift from king to bottom dog without this complete dissolution and regrowth. It's not a metaphor, it's literal biology.
It really makes you think.
Totally. Anyone who's gone through a really painful, identity-shaking transformation after a serious defeat in love or career, where your whole sense of self felt like it shattered and had to be rebuilt, might feel a weird sense of kinship with this lobster. It speaks to that profound shared experience of adapting to radically altered reality.
A deep biological resonance.
And this dramatic shift in the lobster's posture, its behavior, it's largely dictated by the ratio of 2 crucial chemicals modulating its neurons, serotonin and octopamine.
The key players.
Think of them as 2 levers, one for confidence, one for submission. A lobster with high serotonin, low octopamine, that's your cocky, strutting victor, much less likely to back down. Serotonin helps regulate postural flexion, makes it look tall and dangerous, like a confident gunslinger.
Interesting. Posture linked to chemicals.
Get this, if you take a lobster that just lost, one that's all scrunched up in submission, and you expose it to serotonin,
What happened?
it physically stretches out, it advances confidently, even on former victors, and fights harder.
Wow, that's direct.
Conversely, high octopamine, low serotonin, that's your defeated, scrunched up, inhibited, skulking lobster, easily provoked into that tail flick escape response. Octopamine acts almost like a chemical brake on confidence, signals stress, submission.
The human parallel here is, frankly, quite staggering. It's such a powerful demonstration of the deep evolutionary continuity of life.
How so?
Well, think about the drugs prescribed to millions of depressed humans, SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, like Prozac. They have much the same chemical and behavioral effect.
They boost serotonin's effectiveness.
Right. And in one of the most astonishing, almost humorous demonstrations of this continuity, Prozac has actually been shown to cheer up lobsters.
For kidding.
Not kidding. It prompts them to adopt a more confident, assertive posture. This really leads us to an important question, doesn't it? If this ancient neurochemistry governs confidence and depression in such a relatively simple creature, how profoundly does it mirror and influence our own complex human experiences?
Yeah.
Think about the heightened startle reflex in someone with PTSD, like a soldier or a battered child. It's a direct, visceral echo of that defeated lobster's easily triggered escape response. Our fundamental neurochemistry, the architecture of our emotional and physical responses, it's far, far older than we often realize. It directly links our confidence, our demeanor, to these ancient primal mechanisms.
Okay, let's zoom out now from the individual lobster and really consider the broader, often kind of brutal implications of these dominance hierarchies across almost all aspects of life. We see this thing sometimes called the winner-take-all principle.
Price's law, academically.
Right, or the Matthew principle, biblically. From Matthew 25:29, to those who have everything, more will be given. From those who have nothing, everything will be taken.
The Stark principle.
It really is. And let's unpack this because its brutal applicability is just pervasive. It reaches into virtually every domain of human, even animal endeavor.
It's not just about money.
No, although that's a stark example, right? The top 1% globally owning as much wealth as the bottom 50%, or the richest 85 people having as much as the bottom 3.5 billion.
The scale is hard to grasp.
It is. But this principle goes way beyond finances. Think about scientific research. The vast majority of influential papers, the ones that really move fields forward, published by a tiny elite group of scientists.
The Pareto distribution again.
Exactly. In music, a minuscule fraction of musicians produce almost all commercially successful music, dominating charts, airwaves. Same with books. Out of maybe 1.5 million new titles a year in the US, only about 500 sell over 100,000 copies. The vast majority just fade away.
Well, 500 out of 1.5 million.
Yeah. Even in classical music, you'd think it's more spread out, but no. Just 4 composers. Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Tchaikovsky wrote almost all the music commonly played by modern orchestras. And even within their huge output, only a fraction of their works are regularly performed.
So it's this incredibly consistent, skewed, profoundly unequal distribution everywhere.
Almost everywhere you look. Creative production, resource allocation, social influence. It's not just economics. It's some deep-seated pattern of reality.
And what's truly fascinating here is how incredibly stable and in many ways permanent these hierarchies become once they're established.
How so?
Well, back in the lobster world, after a dominance battle, the victor just wiggling his antenna is often enough to make any subordinate opponent just vanish. The weaker ones quickly learn. Quit trying, accept your lowly status.
Learned helplessness, almost.
You could see it that way. But beyond lobsters, the consistency of this principle across time and species points to an incredibly deep evolutionary history. Lobsters themselves, remember, have been around over 350 million years.
Older than dinosaurs.
Way older. Dinosaurs were relative newcomers compared to lobsters in the grand scheme of things. This means dominance hierarchies aren't some recent invention. They're a near-eternal aspect of the environment that all complex life has had to adapt to.
So our brains evolved with this reality.
Our brains, our nervous systems, evolved to process status information long, long before humans walked the earth. Before complex skin, articulated hands, even our current bone structure. The profound importance of this for understanding human behavior, it can hardly be overstated.
That deep history really makes you reconsider the whole nature of nature, doesn't it? And evolution's conservatism.
Absolutely. It's a truism in biology. Evolution doesn't just scrap everything and start fresh. It builds on, refines existing structures.
Like the batwing and human hand comparison?
Exactly. That's why the delicate batwing, the dexterous human hand, the powerful whale fin, they look astonishingly alike underneath, often same number of bones. Evolution laid down those fundamental cornerstones eons ago and just keeps iterating.
But we also have to challenge our maybe romanticized view of nature as static or purely good.
Definitely. Mark Twain had that great line. It's not what we don't know that gets us in trouble. It's what we know for sure that just ain't so. We might imagine nature as a tranquil garden, but it's also malaria, elephantiasis, starvation droughts, the Black Plague. Nature isn't benevolent. Nature selects.
And fitness isn't about some linear path to perfection.
No, not that Victorian idea of inevitable progress towards humanity at the top. The Taoist yin-yang symbol captures it better. Nature is static and dynamic. Chaos and order are interchangeable. It's like the Red Queen told Alice in Wonderland, you have to run as fast as you can just to stay in the same place.
The Red Queen effect, constant adaptation.
Exactly. Evolution is a continuous, often deadly dance with nature, requires constant adaptation. Some things change fast, like leaves on a tree. They're nested in slower changes, like a tree itself or the forest. And some things, like this dominance hierarchy, are profoundly real, but maybe not always consciously seen. Yet they're incredibly influential.
So how does this connect to culture? People often pit nature against culture.
Right. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it becomes clear it's a profound mistake to see nature as something strictly separate from our cultural constructs, our social realities.
Yeah.
Peterson makes a truly radical claim here, challenging a lot of contemporary thought.
What's the claim?
The dominance hierarchy, he argues, is not simply capitalism or communism or the military-industrial complex or even the patriarchy understood as just a disposable cultural artifact.
Okay. So what is it then?
He contends it is instead an exceptionally ancient and fundamental master control system, deeply embedded in our brains, a system literally older than trees, a near-eternal aspect of the environment that has shaped all complex life.
Wow. Older than trees. That's old.
Incredibly old.
Yeah.
What this means is that much of what often gets blamed solely on these more recent social, economic, political structures is actually at a deeper level a consequence of this unchanging ancient biological reality.
So our brain is constantly tracking our status.
Constantly. That part of our brain monitoring our social position, our status, powerfully affects our perceptions, values, emotions, thoughts, actions, conscious and unconscious. When we're defeated, status plummets. We literally act like those losing lobsters. Posture droops, gaze drops, we feel threatened, hurt, anxious, weak. This ancient brain part is relentlessly monitoring, calculating our place, orchestrating our internal chemistry in ways we often don't even perceive.
And the practical consequences show up even in something as primal as mating. You mentioned parallels between lobsters and humans.
Yes, the parallels, though obviously culturally mediated in humans, are quite striking at a biological level. Female lobsters, for instance, are almost irresistibly drawn to the dominant male.
Why him specifically?
They essentially outsource the problem to the machine-like calculations of the dominance hierarchy, like how the stock market distills complex info into a single price. The dominant male, with his confident posture, prime real estate, best hunting. He also, biologically speaking, gets all the girls.
Makes evolutionary sense, I guess.
And the mating ritual itself is quite fascinating. The female, ready to mate, sheds her hard shell, becomes totally soft and vulnerable.
Risky.
Very. But the dominant male, who might usually be aggressive, is somehow charmed by her vulnerability. He becomes a careful lover, deposits his sperm meticulously, she hardens up, goes back to her place with fertilized eggs, and another female likely takes her place with the top guy.
So being the top male lobster is reproductively advantageous.
Exponentially more worthwhile biologically for ensuring genetic legacy. Of course, as Franz de Waal's work on chimp shows, in complex primates, pure physical power isn't enough.
Right, social skills matter too.
Absolutely. You need sophisticated attributes, forming coalitions, even caring for others. So while the beast becoming beauty has these ancient roots in complex mammals like us, it involves deeper social and psychological layers beyond just chemical signals.
Okay, let's bring this all back home, back to you, the listener, and your own internal, deeply ingrained primordial calculator.
The part tracking your status.
Exactly. There's this unspeakably ancient part of your brain, deep below conscious thought, constantly, relentlessly monitoring your social position, assigning you a status, maybe unconsciously, scale of 1 to 10, assessing your competence, your place in hierarchies, your overall standing.
And this has real consequences.
Huge consequences. If you're consistently perceived or perceive yourself as low status, let's say a 10, on this internal scale, your ancient brain reacts by restricting serotonin availability. And this isn't just a feeling. It has profound physiological effects. Makes you much more physically and psychologically reactive, constantly on high alert because evolutionarily, emergencies are common at the bottom.
Hypervigilance.
Right. This burns precious energy, can suppress your immune system, makes you more vulnerable, you become more impulsive, maybe grasping at short-term fixes like drugs or alcohol because you feel deprived. And in that chronic emergency state, you're more likely to live carelessly without a strong sense of the future.
It sounds like a terrible spiral.
It is. A dangerous place. More pain, chronic anxiety, more illness, even shorter lifespan. But if you have high status, a 1 on that scale, Serotonin flows plentifully.
Yeah, opposite effect.
You're confident, calm, secure, less on alert, less bothered by trivial threats. You can plan long-term, delay gratification, afford to be reliable, thoughtful. This position is associated with less illness, less misery, longer life, even when you control for things like absolute income. It's this powerful, almost invisible internal regulator.
Which leads us to a really important question. What happens when this ancient counter mechanism, this internal regulator, malfunctions?
Right. What throws it off?
Erratic habits, sleeping, eating, coupled with chronic uncertainty, can throw this delicate system into profound disarray. Our body, with all its complex parts, needs to function like a well-rehearsed orchestra, as Peterson puts it.
Everything in sync.
Exactly. Hormones, sleep-wake cycles, digestion, they all need to play their role properly at the right time or internal chaos ensues. And this is why consistent routine becomes so fundamentally necessary.
Not just for external order, but internal too.
Precisely. The vital acts we repeat daily need to be automatized, stable habits, not just to reduce external complexity, but to gain internal predictability. Let our core physiological systems operate optimally.
So what's the practical advice here based on Peterson's clinical work?
His clinical advice, from years working with anxious and depressed individuals, is surprisingly simple, but targets this system directly. Two key things.
Yeah.
First, consistent wake-up time. Wake up at the exact same time every single day, no exceptions, even weekends. He argues this is often more important than a consistent bedtime.
Really? Why wake up time?
Because our intricate circadian rhythms, our internal 24-hour clocks, are tightly tied to regulating mood and negative emotions. Consistently resetting that rhythm is often the foundational first step in effectively treating chronic anxiety and depression. It gives the whole body a stable anchor.
Okay, makes sense. What's the second thing?
Second, fat and protein-heavy breakfast. Eat this as soon as humanly possible after waking. And crucially, avoid simple carbs and sugars first thing.
Why specifically fat and protein?
Anxious and depressed people are often under chronic physiological stress. This can cause their bodies to hypersecrete insulin, basically over-release it when they eat. If they fast after waking or eat quickly metabolized sugary stuff, they can get sharp, detrimental blood sugar dips later in the morning.
Ah, the mid-morning crash.
Exactly. And those crashes create psychophysiological instability, like an internal roller coaster, which significantly compounds their existing anxiety. Peterson talks about many clients whose long-standing anxiety dropped to subclinical levels below diagnostic threshold just by adopting these two profoundly simple routines.
Wow, just wake up time and breakfast.
It highlights how much our mind is tied to our underlying physiology. Small changes can have big effects on that internal regulator.
Okay, here's where it gets really fascinating and kind of alarming, because these internal malfunctions can also be amplified by destructive positive feedback loops.
Right, the runaway spirals.
Exactly. Imagine a small signal gets detected, amplified, emitted, then that amplified output is detected again as the input for the next cycle. It just escalates dangerously.
Like a snowball rolling downhill.
Perfect analogy. It picks up snow, gets bigger, rolls faster, picks up even more snow, self-amplifying exponential growth. Or think of that deafening microphone feedback squeal at a concert.
Oh, yeah. Painful example.
Exactly. Or take agoraphobia. Peterson describes a common scenario. A middle-aged woman, maybe already prone to dependency or stress. She has an unexpected weird event, sudden heart palpitations, maybe a big marital fight.
Something throws her off balance.
Right. Triggers initial anxiety, which escalates fast into full panic. Heart racing, can't breathe, dizzy. Overwhelmed, she flees the situation, say, a crowded mall rushes home to safety.
Understandable reaction.
But here's the loop. Her ancient anxiety system immediately tags the mall as dangerous because she fled it. This creates a terrifying spiral. Her world shrinks. More places become too dangerous, anxiety-provoking, until she's trapped at home, isolated. Her retreat makes everything else more anxiety-inducing.
Wow, the avoidance reinforces the fear.
Precisely. Another one, depression. The cycle often starts with persistent feelings, uselessness, deep sadness, chronic pain. These internal states naturally lead to withdrawal from social contact, pulling back from the world.
Makes sense you don't feel like engaging.
But that isolation then amplifies the feelings of uselessness, burden, loneliness, which leads to more withdrawal. The depression spirals, tragically self-perpetuating. It feeds on its own symptoms, eroding hope.
It's a vicious cycle.
And one more, bullying trauma. Childhood bullying is truly damaging. It can create deeply ingrained physiological adaptations. A bullied child often develops a defensive crouch, inhibited posture, avoiding eye contact, unconscious submission signals.
Survival mechanisms at the time.
Exactly. But tragically, these adaptations can persist into adulthood. Even when things are objectively better, those ingrained physiological responses signaling lower status continue. They might subtly communicate vulnerability, attract negative attention, make it harder to assert oneself. It perpetuates a damaging feedback loop, keeping the person in that subordinate, cautious stance, even when it's no longer needed.
So what does all this mean for us, bringing it together?
Well, these powerful feedback loops vividly illustrate how profoundly our internal neurochemistry, these ancient brain systems, interact with everything else, external circumstances, habits, even past traumas. Understanding this dominance counter, and especially the mechanisms of self-regulation, becomes absolutely crucial for well-being, for our ability to thrive.
It's not just in our heads.
Not at all. And that simple, almost intuitive advice, stand up straight with your shoulders back. It isn't just about looking good, it's a deeply ingrained signal, a fundamental message to our ancient brain about our perceived status, our competence.
It directly influences the chemistry.
Exactly. Directly influences serotonin levels, confidence, ultimately our very ability to face the world and its challenges. By consciously altering these physical signals, by embodying a stance of competence, we can literally start to reprogram that ancient calculator, break those destructive loops, and move towards a more adaptive, resilient self. Hashtag outro.
We've covered a huge amount of ground today on the Deep Dive. Really ventured into some profound intellectual territory.
We really did. We started with the surprising origins of 12 Rules for Life, that viral Quora post, then traced its roots back to Dr. Peterson's deep philosophical battle between order and chaos, and the individual's heroic responsibility in that whole drama.
The core framework.
Then we took that incredible journey into the world of lobsters, discovering how their simple nervous systems reveal universal truths about dominance hierarchies, the mind-blowing neurochemistry of winning and losing, and those direct parallels to human behavior, even how we respond to antidepressants.
The lobster connection is hard to forget.
It really is. And finally, we explored the devastating impact of those unregulated positive feedback loops on our well-being: alcoholism, agoraphobia, depression, bullying trauma. It really drives home that the simple command, stand up straight with your shoulders back, isn't just about appearances. It's a deeply evolved behavior sending crucial life-altering signals to our ancient brain. It influences our entire being.
Which really leads us to a profound closing question for you, the listener. How might consciously adopting behaviors that signal competence and confidence, even if you don't initially feel it, how might that literally start to rewire your ancient brain? How might it alter your internal neurochemistry and shift your trajectory between chaos and order?
It's a powerful thought.
Consider for a moment just how much of your everyday experience is quietly governed by these ancient, often invisible systems we've talked about. Understanding them truly empowers you, gives you a lever to take individual responsibility for your posture, yes, but also your routines, your conscious responses to the world.
So it offers a path to agency.
Exactly. So as you go about your day, think about this. How might actively challenging just one small negative feedback loop in your own life, maybe just committing to that consistent wake-up time, or choosing that protein-heavy breakfast to stabilize yourself internally, or maybe it's simply making the physical choice right now to stand a little taller, shoulders back. How might that one small act begin to subtly but powerfully shift your personal balance, nudging you away from chaos towards a more ordered, more meaningful, and ultimately more resilient existence?
It's a small act, but maybe with profound implications, something to definitely think about.